Let me take you inside a large, successful multinational company. On the surface, everything looked perfect. The business was booming, targets were being met, and senior leaders were praised for their high performance. If you looked at the numbers, you'd think this company was thriving. But behind the glowing reports and shiny awards, something deeply troubling was happening. Employees were quietly leaving the organization. More people were calling in sick without clear reasons. And employee engagement scores, those indicators of how motivated and satisfied people felt, were going down fast. Still, there were no formal complaints, no official reports of bad behavior, just whispers, faint and cautious. Those whispers spoke of one senior leader, a powerful figure known for driving results. But the way they treated people? That was another story. People described working in fear. This leader would humiliate team members in meetings, assign impossible tasks as punishment, and retaliate when someone disagreed. Yet no one dared to speak up openly. Why? Because in the past, those who had tried were either ignored, or worse, pushed out quietly. Employees had learned that speaking up came with consequences, so instead they stayed silent. This created a serious challenge for the HR and employee relations team. They kept hearing murmurs about the leader's behavior, but there was no documentation, no written complaints, and nothing that could be formally investigated. They were stuck in a tough position. How do you address a serious problem when everyone is too afraid to report it? Eventually, the organization realized they couldn't wait any longer. Silence doesn't mean safety, it often means fear. They created a space where people could share their experiences without being afraid. A special team, trained to handle sensitive conversations, began meeting employees one-on-one. Every meeting was private, confidential, and psychologically safe. To make sure the process was fair and unbiased, they brought in an external investigation firm, a neutral third party who could look at the facts without any internal pressure. What they discovered was heartbreaking but necessary. Multiple employees, both current and former, shared the same kinds of stories: public shaming during meetings, being excluded from important projects, being overloaded with work as punishment, constant fear of being targeted. These weren't isolated events, they were patterns, and they matched across different people's stories. The silence had spoken, and the truth was finally out. When the findings were shared with the top leadership, there was hesitation at first. After all, this leader had delivered strong business results, but HR helped them see the full picture. Yes, the numbers looked good, but the cost was massive. Because of this leader's behavior, talented employees were quitting, teams were burning out, the culture of the workplace was breaking down, and worst of all, the company was exposed to legal risks. Claims of a hostile work environment could have serious consequences. It wasn't just a people issue anymore, it was a business risk. Once the evidence was clear, the company made a tough but necessary decision. They transitioned the leader out of the organization. It was done carefully, without making a public scene or placing blame. This approach helped protect the company from legal backlash and avoided more internal chaos. It was about solving the problem, not creating more of it. Of course, removing one person doesn't fix everything. The real work began afterwards. The organization launched listening circles, safe spaces where employees could talk openly about what they'd been through. They realigned teams so people could work in healthier environments. Managers received coaching on how to lead with fairness and clarity. And to make sure things didn't go back to how they were, regular check-ins, called pulse surveys, were introduced to monitor the culture. The healing had started. While the company did the right thing eventually, this story leaves us with a big question. Could this crisis have been prevented altogether? The answer is yes. Let's look at what could have helped. Using people analytics early. If they had been tracking trends in engagement surveys, especially drops in questions related to psychological safety, they might have spotted the problem earlier. Exit interviews could have shown patterns too. If several employees mentioned the same issues with a manager, that's a red flag. Anonymous reporting channels. Having third-party whistleblower platforms like Ethics Point would have allowed employees to speak up without fear. Also, managers should be trained to document informal concerns. Even if it's just a comment like, "A few team members are uncomfortable with how leader X speaks," it matters. 360-degree feedback. Leaders shouldn't be evaluated only by how much revenue they bring. Input from their peers and teams is equally important. Performance reviews should include behavior, not just business results, and bonuses should reflect that balance too. Regular culture checks. High-pressure teams can become toxic over time. Regular culture audits can help detect warning signs, and leadership conduct should be reviewed at the board level, not just financial performance. Early coaching and HR shadowing. When one team has higher than usual turnover or engagement scores drop suddenly, that's a sign. That's the time to bring in an executive coach, or even have an HR professional sit in on meetings quietly, just to observe how the leader interacts with their team. This case teaches us a powerful truth. Silence is often the loudest warning sign in a workplace. So, what are the key takeaways for employee relations professionals and leaders everywhere? Don't wait for formal complaints. Fear often keeps people quiet. Investigations must be neutral and unbiased. Patterns in data reveal truths even when there's no written complaint. Justice is only the start. Healing and rebuilding trust take time. And most importantly, prevention is better than crisis management. The best organizations don't just solve problems, they prevent them, by creating safe, fair, and transparent systems from the start.